Jeez, sorry I'm late, fella.
No, that's all right. This case won't solve itself.
No, the detectives are here now. What's on the menu today, Chief? What have you got for me? Please tell me it's something
I got a belter for you,
good.
my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Tan family murder case.
Right, before we get into this case, Chip, I think it's important that we introduce you guys to the Fella's Mystery Channel. So, what are we going to be doing on here, Chip?
We're going to be talking about unsolved cases, conspiracies, and just mysteries all across the globe. But not only that, we're here to solve them.
Before we go any further, guys, we would like it, if you are new around here, to go ahead and hit subscribe. We are going to come to you with some of the most interesting, the most well-researched, and most exciting unsolved cases you could possibly imagine. Do you like that? How was that for an intro?
I absolutely love that.
That was
That
good,
was a
wasn't
belter, mate.
There are a couple disclaimers that we want to get out the way. Of course, with this being a murder case, there are some maybe things that might trigger you, maybe you don't want to hear.
Might upset some certain viewers.
Exactly, so keep that in mind. We don't mean any disrespect to anyone involved. These are merely our own opinions, and we're here to make awareness of this case more than anything.
Yes, and if we waffle...
That's just the way we
That's
are.
just the
really.
way it is, baby.
What's the case today?
All right, well, this is the case of the Tan family. It's a family of 6, okay? We got 4 children and the mother and the parent. The youngest is the daughter at 5 years old. The other 3 are boys, and the eldest is 10 years old.
They're living in a 1-bedroom flat.
A 1-bedroom flat in Singapore.
Okay, and give me what era, what time, what year what did this happen in?
We're talking 1979.
A little while back then.
Oh, a while back.
A TBT.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was this? What's TBT?
Throwback Tuesdays.
I thought it was Thursdays.
We're filming this on a Tuesday. All right, Chip, you got to tell me what actually happened in this case.
Okay, so it all kicked off on January the 6th, 1979. The parents, Tan and Lee, left for work at about 6:35 in the morning, nothing out of the ordinary.
Right, and their jobs, what they did for work was they ran like a minibus service, and it was shuttling kids to and from school. Right?
Yes.
So they went to work early in the morning before their kids would go to school in order to drop off the other kids to their school, right?
Exactly, and they'd left, all 4 children had been left at home.
Okay.
Usually what they would do from there is they'd call back home to make sure the kids are ready, getting ready to go to school, but there's no answer.
There was no answer on the first time that they would usually call in, no one picked up.
No one picks up.
Right, and then after that, they called the neighbor and said, yo, can you just go check up on the kids?
Yeah.
The neighbor goes round, knocks on the door.
No one there, no one in.
No one answer. So at this point, the parents are probably thinking, right, kids have gone maybe a little bit early to school.
That's exactly what they were thinking. They thought they just left early. There was no suspicion as of yet.
All right, so 10 a.m. rolls around. The 2 parents are coming back from work. They open up their front door, and they're greeted by the worst case scenario.
Horrifying scenes.
So in the bathroom, all 4 kids were stacked up on top of each other with at least 20 slashes on each of them.
And the eldest son, his arm was actually nearly almost severed from his body completely.
They've seen all 4 of their own kids there, but the bathroom being in the state that the bathroom was in, but the rest of the house...
completely pristine. In fact, there was no signs of forced entry at all, which is, a bit strange, right?
That is
And the
very
only
sus.
little bit of sign of DNA was a bit of blood in the sink. And like you said, the rest of the place looked like...
spotless.
Completely spotless, been cleaned up.
So my question is at this point, obviously, with no forced entry, there's a likely chance that it's someone that the family knows, right?
Yeah.
The second thing is...
there's going to be screams,
Mate, 4 kids have just been murdered and there's no noise or anything?
And the murder weapons were actually from the flat themselves. It was a knife and a chopper taken from the kitchen, and they were actually never recovered.
So they never actually found the weapons?
Yes.
Okay.
So the police believe that he's cleaned up the whole place and left.
So a key thing to note in this case was that the mum's keys had gone missing days prior to this murder. So did the person that killed them, did he nick them, hold on to them for a couple days, and then time this correctly? Not only that, but it's clearly someone that knew the family's routine. He knew, or she knew, that they were out working
Yep.
So there's a time gap where this would be happening.
It obviously happened very quickly as well because they rang the children like they usually do, and there was no answer. So it seems like it already started by the time they would usually ring.
Yeah.
So they would the killer would have to know the routine pretty
well,
precisely.
In terms of the DNA, the oldest kid was actually holding on to some hair, but the police weren't able to identify whose hair it was.
Why is that?
Now, they say that it could have been because this was done in 1979, that DNA technology simply wasn't good enough at the time.
They didn't even have iPhones then.
There are theories that, was the older brother like attempting to fight back, grabbed a bit of their hair, or some people say that it could have actually just been the kid's own hair.
Okay.
So, but there's no way to prove it because ultimately they were never able to do the right test, or they didn't have the right technology to run the test and find out whose it belonged to.
Now things get even stranger.
Okay.
Some time passes, 2 weeks in fact, and they receive a Chinese New Year letter written in Mandarin, signed off by the murderer. Now here's one of the crazy things. In the letter, the parents are referred to as their nicknames. So instantly that's raising some red flags.
It's got to be someone that's close.
Knows them,
yeah.
Right? Secondly, now this is it's kind of messed up, but it said you can now have no more offspring. Ha ha ha. Now that's just referring to the fact that the mother had been sterilized after having the latest child.
Mate, this
That
has
is
to
messed-
be.
that is messed
mate,
up, by the way.
If there's anything this letter says, it's proving the fact that it was someone that had to be close to the family.
Yeah, because not many
isn't.
people are going to know
Mate.
that you've been sterile, like you can't have kids.
Yeah, that combined with the fact that they obviously use their nicknames.
Yep. It's like he wants them to know,
Yeah.
Like the murderer, look, it's me. Kind of like flexing in the face a little bit.
Not only that, but at this point, no one had been charged, right?
At all.
So this is also absolutely terrifying for the parents because they've received this letter. They can tell that it's someone close to them, but they might not know who it still is. They just know that they're close to them. That would be terrifying. So you'd think with a murder like this, with 4 people being killed, 4 kids being killed, one, there would be noise, or 2, someone will have seen something, right? It's a big block of flats.
100%. It's like a community. You would expect someone in the community
to know
have heard
something.
or spotted something, right?
And so the police, after the murder happened, they went and interviewed over 100 people, right? And literally nothing came of it. Not only that, but then they decided to make a public appeal as well. And again, nothing came out of it.
Sounds dodgy to me.
Yeah, it was weird. Now, in terms of witnesses, they did have one. There was like, how there's always like the older person on the block. They're just always chilling around. They had a 68-year-old granny.
Yep.
Right, and now she was known to sort of be sat in a chair outside in the corridor, sort of kind of like patrolling, people walking past, she saw everything. Conveniently enough, this 68-year-old granny, for the first time, wasn't actually out there. She was inside washing her hair, conveniently at the time that this had all happened, right?
That's dodgy. Now, does she just like not wash her at all, or?
I mean, it just seems a bit sus, like, for someone that is, like always out there sitting in her chair in the corridor, it just seems maybe a little bit too convenient that the exact time that this happened,
Possible imposter.
she missed it. But at the same time, it's very well she just woke up that day and went, my hair's a little bit greasy.
It's true, it's one of those, maybe she genuinely was washing her
Yeah.
hair, she forgot to tape Law and Order, Coronation Street.
Was that around back then? So there was another witness
Yep.
that said that Lee, the name of the mum, was arguing with someone else in the apartment block, right? But what's kind of weird about this witness is they have the witness and then the witness just went missing, right? Or disappeared, right? Just gone. So there's no
like
more
she gone from the
information.
face of the planet, or like she just left town, or
I mean, we don't. The witness could have been a guy.
Well, yeah, she did gone Asda shopping.
Mate, is gone. There's no way of tracing this witness, which seems just a little bit weird. I don't know. Often with cases like this, you know, there's quite a bit of media attention. Now, one witness actually went to the media and said that they had seen a couple covered in blood leaving. Now, this ended up to be a hoax, of course. So that pretty much went nowhere. And that leads us to the final witness. And this final witness is considered to be like the most credible one. And it was actually a taxi driver.
Goes by the name Toa Peo. Might have butchered it, so sorry. But he's picked up a man in his 20s, looking really sketchy. In fact, so sketchy that he's got blood splattered on like half of his face.
arms.
Yeah, he may have even possibly had a knife as well.
What time was it?
This is at 8 a.m. And not only that, but it's actually only maybe a 10-minute walk away from the actual scene of the, scene of the murders.
Well, that's where he was picked up.
So it's right around the corner, down the road.
Wow, at 8 a.m. as well. That fits
on
perfectly
the day,
into it.
In the exact perfect time frame, this is sounding dodgy.
Mate, you know what? You can always rely on a taxi driver to come through with some good knowledge.
The taxi drivers, man, they've seen everything.
They've seen everything.
My dad used to be a taxi driver.
Anyways, your dad wasn't this taxi driver, but this taxi driver was asked to describe the guy that got in the car. Half covered in blood, knives clanging around, and he described it to police, and then the police took that description and actually went to the parents of the kids, and instantly the parents knew who was being described, and they referred to that person as uncle.
Doesn't have to be relative related. It can mean a older man in a family that is, close family friend.
They've said, right, this is uncle, okay, and then the police managed to get the taxi driver to come through, and they had a lineup form, and they said, select who the person in the back of your cab was, and he managed to pick out exactly that uncle. So there it confirmed, for the most part, that the taxi driver picked up uncle in the back of his taxi, half covered in blood, knives clanging around, 10 minutes down the street,
from where the murders took place.
At 8 a.m.
At 8 a.m.
So for me, the location and the timing, it makes so much sense. So at this point, you're probably thinking, right, wrap him up. Like this, we've got to.
We need a motive.
So after the taxi driver picks him out the lineup, you'd be thinking the police, right, let's wrap him up. Come on, there's a lot of stuff here pointing. And he was taken for 2 weeks worth of questioning, but ultimately they couldn't hold him any longer because they still didn't have enough evidence against him.
And when he got released, and this is where things start to add up even more, that was the exact time where the Tan family received the Chinese New Year letter from this said murderer,
Exactly.
And he's just been released. They get a letter from someone that seems like they're not, things are looking dodgy for Uncle.
Mate, Uncle is looking sus.
He's on fraud watch right now.
He is. But ultimately, he still isn't been arrested.
No, he got released.
He got released after the 2 weeks. So we now need to talk about why would Uncle want to do something like that? What are the theories behind this case?
Okay, I got a theory for you.
I'm listening.
So the brother of the mother of the Tan family thought that the parents were involved in an illegal tontine scheme.
Right, you're gonna have to explain what in the world a tontine scheme is.
Okay, I barely know myself, so I'm giving my best shot.
All right.
It's a group of individuals that pool together a bunch of money and they get timed payouts, okay? And as people within the group die, the payouts increase. The final person alive within the group would get the remaining sum.
Okay.
And obviously, the mother's brother has thought they're involved in that, and in some way that has backfired.
That wouldn't
doesn't really make sense, all right?
Yeah. So this theory is based off the mother's brother.
Yeah.
But surely, by sort of killing those 4 kids, that's not really going to change anything for Uncle.
Well, why would the kids be involved in this scheme? That's not going to make the payouts get greater or anything.
Yeah, because it's the
parents that are involved.
Yeah.
And also, why is the brother dubbed him in?
Yeah, that is a bit weird. Like, this is an illegal thing to do.
Means they'll go down for it.
Yeah. So, and he's gone to the media and said, "Oh, I think it's this." So the brother's
unless he is possibly upset with the parents for getting involved with this.
Yeah, maybe. So another theory going around is that the mum, Lee, was actually having an affair with Uncle, right? And then what's happened is she's broken it off.
Yeah.
And he's fuming. He's kicked off, essentially.
Yeah.
And that would sort of explain maybe why in the letter that he knew about the infertility, the fact that she was sterilized. A lot of people say that the relationship between the mum and the dad was really good.
Was healthy. But you know, you can have a healthy relationship and she could still been cheating on my man, you know?
It's true. But I still just don't think, like, look, that is such an overreaction.
Oh.
Psychopaths will be psychopaths and do mental stuff, right? But that is, like, you know, to fall out with someone over an affair and then your response to be to go and kill
their
the
entire
kids.
family. I feel like something's not you
adding
know,
up.
maybe he would have killed like the husband or something, you know,
Yeah.
maybe that would make a bit more sense.
But the 4 kids?
Yeah, because if you kill the husband, maybe you still got a chance.
Yeah.
You kill the 4 kids and you
It's
know,
still,
that's not gonna.
that's not helping your case.
Yeah, you're probably not. Now we have another one. Obviously, there was pretty much no noise came from the flat, or so they claim. No one's heard anything. You would think there would be a lot of noise. There's going to be 4 kids screaming. Right?
Yeah.
You've only got 2 hands. There's going to be kids running around everywhere,
Right.
all that kind of thing. What if there was 2 killers?
Right.
Yeah. So you've got one who's like maybe trying to take care of the kids, silence them, keep them quiet.
Yeah.
The other is committing the act.
Or one is committing the act in the bathroom, right? And then the other person is sort of keeping them sort of entertained, distracted in the living room.
So they've done the kids. It could be one by one, maybe.
That's true, actually. Potentially.
But there has been not much to support, this theory.
Who's the other person?
Who could the other person be,
It raises a lot more questions. It gives Uncle a bit more of a motive for this whole thing. So the next theory is actually a very interesting one. Now, it's important to note that this theory actually comes from a YouTube comment on a video by Kaylee Elise, right? That was all about the Tan family murders, right? But it's important to note that video is no longer available. It's gone. It's no longer on YouTube. As with any YouTube comment, you want to take it with a pinch of salt. So the commenter claims, right, that their mother was from the area.
Okay.
And within the area, it is sort of like common knowledge that Uncle did this crime.
The people know.
Yeah, well, the community know.
Believes.
Yeah, the community know. And what they said happened was that it was all to do with a lottery ticket. Now, Uncle every week would give the Tan family parents the 4 numbers, and they would go and buy the lottery ticket. Now, Uncle's 4 numbers came in. So as you would, he went over to the family. And he said, "Could I get my winning ticket, please?"
Yeah, and this is big news as well because, like you said earlier, this is not a wealthy area.
No.
If someone wins the lottery and it's it's going to be
fantastic.
This is big news.
So the family said, "Oh, we forgot to buy your ticket."
Well, how angry would you be? You'd be angry.
You'd be angry, but you'd also be a bit sus. Look, they've been buying tickets before, and then the one time that he wins, you're saying that you didn't go and buy my ticket? A little while after they had supposedly not bought the ticket, they had actually gone and bought minibuses for their business. So do you remember at the beginning we said that the 2 parents, their work, their business was shuttling kids to and from school?
Yeah.
Surely Uncle's thinking, they've definitely taken my money.
They've nicked my money.
And bought minibus, or 1 or 2 minibuses.
So in revenge for this act, he thinks they've stolen the money. He's gone and murdered all their children as like revenge to ending their bloodline for the entire Tan family. As in like East Asian culture, it's actually, it's quite seen as like quite shameful to not have your family continue like that.
Right. So his way of getting back to him is to be like, I'm going to bring shame on your family by ending your bloodline.
I wonder how much money it was.
Yeah.
I wonder, it must have been a serious sum for them.
Enough to buy minibuses.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're all sat here with this theory thinking, well, why hasn't the Tan family, the 2 parents, they're convinced that it's Uncle as well. Why hasn't the family reported him to the police?
Yeah.
All of this information,
it just doesn't make sense. You would go to them.
In this theory, they claim that the Tan family and also Uncle had ties with drug-related gangs.
Okay.
So if they had dobbed in Uncle, uncle might have snitched and said, well, guess what? They're doing drug-related activity. And,
Yes.
and in Singapore, drug-related activity like that is actually punishable by death.
So they're in a sticky spot. You know,
That-
they've just
that
lost their
is-
children.
yeah.
They think they know who's done it. They can't even report him because, you know,
They might go down.
they've possibly committed crimes punishable by death. Even if it's not death, they are still going to go to prison possibly.
If we go back to the fact that the whole community sort of knows, but no one's really reporting it, it comes back to the fact that because of Uncle's involvement in these gangs, in this drug world, if you will.
Yeah. If they report him, what's going to come back on me?
Yeah.
You know, is my family going to be in danger?
And then if we go even one step further, that sort of makes a lot of sense going back to the sus grandma washing her hair. She conveniently wasn't there at the time. It goes back to that. And then not only that, but do you remember the witness as well? The guy that ended up just disappearing, leaving. It's like all this stuff is just sort of adding up. And that's why I kind of like this theory.
And then where do we go from here?
So let's fast forward all the way to now. The uncle,
Yep.
gone, disappeared with his sister.
What, like we're talking gone as in they can't find him? Are they even looking for him?
So to this day, this case is considered open.
And even though we see it as right now a possible revenge, you know, ending the bloodline, the family actually did manage to reverse the sterilization, and they have had another boy. And that was, what, 4 years later in 1983?
Yeah, in 1983 they had a baby boy.
They have managed to continue the bloodline, as you may say. Also, actually stopped their minibus transporting business, and they went to work at a plastic factory.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that was the case. So those are all the different theories. Like I said, I know the YouTube comment one is probably the one I shouldn't go for, but it's also like the most detailed. It ties everything up really well for me.
Well, the taxi driver, even that bit alone, you know, and he picked him out. The family were able to describe that it was Uncle as soon as they had the taxi driver's statement from the police.
I would say, look, we can be pretty confident that it is Uncle.
And he's done a runner.
And he's done a runner, but the theory as to why he did it, that I would say is still up in arms. Look, the lottery one, that makes sense. There's a monetary reason. There's revenge in there. Him sending the letter, that's something you would do to let them know that they haven't got away with stealing his money.
Yeah.
People are pretty sure they know that it was Uncle, but ultimately the police never pressed any charges.
Yeah. Is this case ever are they gonna find him? Where do they go from here?
What happens next? I don't know. We would love it if you guys would comment your thoughts on the case, maybe your own theories that you'd like. We'd love to hear about them.
Absolutely. And if you've got any ideas for any cases
that
you'd
you'd
like
like to
me
see us
and
cover.
my partner here to cover, then leave a comment of them as well.
Until next time, guys. PC Crimes and Detective Freezy. We'll see you on the next case.